Hi, I'm Nikki Luna. I'm an artist, a feminist, and an activist. I became an artist. Well, that's hard to. I guess I knew I wanted to be an artist. I knew when I was like 4 years old that I would daydream about being an artist. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I wanted to be it. All I could do and think of growing up was drawing everything I could see or creating something out of, using my hands or using a pen, a pencil, anything that I could grab on. I would have more doodles in my notebook than lessons, or on the table I would have vandalized things because I would have made something out of them. I wanted to become an artist because I guess I wanted that sort of power in creating and making an interpretation of things in your own way. I saw the power of how art can change that perception or a viewer or an audience perception of something. I started out just like many artists. I started my work very cathartic. I would if it first went through a stage where I talk about myself and my own experiences, what I saw growing up, what when my heart was broken, or the struggles, my own struggles. I had to bring that out in my first few works, and then after I brought that out, it gave me some release, some satisfaction. But then I realized I can't keep talking about myself. I didn't want to talk about myself. It was enough that I wanted to share my relationship with myself, with my family. But that was it. And then it was at a point where I would offer to teach art workshops to sexually abused girls. And I would find these organizations where they don't offer some sort of therapy, some creative therapy to these girls. So that's how I started branching out of what I could do as an artist. And then later on, there was this brutal massacre that happened back in 2009. They call it the Maguindanao Massacre, where 58 human beings were brutally murdered and killed in broad daylight. And the first thing I wanted to do was I had to find the people who were going to go there for psychosocial services, and I wanted to offer my some art and therapy to go with their work. So I realized from then on how, as an artist, I want to talk about the world we live in. That it's important to talk about these things, no matter how brief or how short it could be. It is another way, it is another tool and vehicle to talk about relevant issues, things that really matter, that things that people should hear about. And that's where my art goes. It's about women issues, it's about human rights. As an artist, I have witnessed sexual abuse, and it was it was the reason why, at a young age, I found art, like in my personal experience, as a way of healing, as a way of surviving it. I've been interviewed before, but then I always have this urge to stop them and say, please don't define me as a victim. I don't like being defined as a victim. I want other people to see that that is just something that happened to me, but it is not me. It is not me, but it makes me a better person. Maybe it makes me a better person to other people. Maybe it makes me contribute to a society where it needs more people that can open their eyes to these realities. Because a lot of people, surprisingly, they don't think these things happen. I'm such a paranoid. Like sometimes I always tell them, okay, just teach your children to protect themselves, or to have their space, because that's how I experienced it. It's there was no space. It was done to you by someone. It wasn't even like some stranger. It happens to the closest, and close. It happens to you, and it is done to you by the closest people around you. So as a child, this trust will be broken, and you will jump into a little girl to someone that is, people think that you'll be ruined, but then you need some guidance. And I wasn't able to get any of that. It was just really my own coping and my own way of art. I was only able to reveal this actually when I was like 19 to my parents. I wasn't able to say it to them, and I still find it hard to say it to them or to talk about it freely, because I know how hurt they are that they weren't there, or maybe they couldn't do anything. And not because I wasn't very talkative when I was young. And when you're young and you are violated, the first thing you think of is that it is your fault. So, and of course you don't want to hurt the people that loves you, the people who took care of you, and and maybe they realize they must have done something wrong, or they didn't protect you enough, because they did. And sometimes these abuses happen, and it's not the fault of the people you love, or it's not even your fault. They just happen because there are bad people in this world. And and that's when I found how art could really, really change one's feeling. Maybe it doesn't save the world, It. I'm not claiming it's gonna save the world, but it can save a soul. And that's why I looked for that place first after releasing all my cathartic experiences there. That's where I found the that's why I was so encouraged to find other girls who experience this, because maybe I could inspire them, maybe I could encourage them to some creative means, and they could do this, and they could help themselves, because sometimes, that's the beauty of art. You don't have to articulate it verbally. Do it, and it helps you in this form of chaos, or maybe in a climate of revenge or pain or darkness. You'll find this 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 healing